traumatized soldier was about to take his own life. Then he saw something moving in the bushes. Sergeant Josh Marino had been brought to the brink. Back in the US at Fort Riley, Kansas in 2008, the soldier was suffering a post-traumatic stress disorder following a head injury sustained during a tour of duty in Iraq. As he sat preparing himself mentally to end his life, he was suddenly made aware of something in the nearby bushes. What Marino found under the foliage would not only save his life but change its course forever. A native of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 37-year-old Marino's story began in the early years of this century when he was in the US Army. Deployed to the southwest Baghdad in Iraq, the young soldier was unlucky enough to be stationed in an area of the city known among military personnel as Mortarville, due to it being shelled so frequently by insurgents. Marino had only been in the city for a few months when disaster struck. He was returning to the base on foot when he found himself surprised by an attack. All of a sudden, there was a massive explosion on the other side of the wall that showered me with rocks, he told News Channel 11 Alive. The soldier tried to dash for the safety of a concrete shelter, but had already been injured by flying debris. He was taken to the medical center for examination. Doctors found that Marino had suffered multiple concussions and sustained a traumatic brain injury as a result of the blast. Despite the horrific incident, Marino received little sympathy from his army comrades as he recovered. "If you don't look like you're injured, there must not be anything wrong," he told 11 Alive. Denied repatriation, Marino appeared physically fine, but the full extent of his invisible injuries was not yet known. Marino was eventually returned to Fort Riley military base once his tour of duty finished in 2008. It was then that his problems began to become apparent. "I was waking up and going to sleep with headaches." He also suffered loss of memory and had difficulty concentrating. "It really tests your mettle when nobody believes you. It gets to the point where it felt like no one understands." The sergeant felt increasingly isolated among the men at the base and struggled to come to terms with his condition. It worsened to the point where he felt he couldn't go on any longer. "I thought I was damaged goods," he recalled. "It got to the point where I was ready to end it." Life had become unbearable for Marino. One winter night in his barracks, he drafted a suicide note on his computer and saved it to his desktop for his colleagues to find. Then he took out his knife in readiness. The beleaguered soldier stepped out into the rain to sit and have a final cigarette. That was when the turning point in Marino's life arrived. Not with a bang, but something more like a whimper. First, he heard a mewing and decided to investigate. "I saw this little cat under the bushes," Marino said. The stray black and white kitten approached him and let itself be petted. "I thought someone did care. Something with a warm heart and soft fur came up to lend a hand, and it really did help." This small gesture made Marino rethink. He told 11 Alive, "It made me break down, and after that I deleted the note on my computer." The cat continued to come back daily to visit the soldier at the same spot for weeks after their initial meeting. Marino named the little kitten Scout and began feeding him and his stray cat compadres. "It was almost like a ritual," he recalled. "Even if I had a rotten day, I would watch them do their thing, but it was only Scout who would allow the soldier to pet him." Scout's company became a welcome part of Marino's everyday life on the base, and the veteran credits it with turning his life around. "It was a complete 180, he said. "He restored something in me that was lost." However, Scout's stay at the barracks proved to be short-lived. One day in January of 2009, base officials rounded up the stray cats, including the beloved Scout. It was difficult for Marino, who by then felt mentally strong enough to have struck up a relationship with Becky, a former school friend who he had proposed to on New Year's Eve. Marino also credits his furry friend for bringing the couple together. "If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't even have started up a conversation with my wife," he told 11 Alive. The soldier thought he'd seen the last of Scout until he and Becky were out walking one day. On Memorial Day in May of 2009, Fort Riley played host to an animal adopt-a-thon. Marino and his fiancée went along. They had all these animals and we were just looking around. All of a sudden, this little black paw shot out, and it was Scout. Reunited, the stunned soldier adopted the little cat on the spot. After 8 years of service, Marino was discharged from the Army on medical grounds that July. He and Becky moved back to Pittsburgh with Scout in tow. In September of 2010, Marino married his sweetheart, and all three settled down for a family life in Pennsylvania together. Subsequently, Marino returned to school and gained a master's degree in clinical rehabilitation and mental health counseling. He then gained a new job treating fellow armed forces veterans. "I want to be there for them. I've been in the same position they've been in," he told 11 Alive. "I get to help people, and that's what I want my life to be about." Everything seemed to be going positively for the former soldier who had Scout by his side. The pair were inseparable, which meant that the diagnosis in August of 2011 came as such a shock. Scout had been under the weather, so Marino took his friend to the vet. Sadly, blood tests revealed Scout had advanced leukemia, and medics gave the cat less than 2 weeks to live. Marino was then faced with the dilemma of whether to keep Scout alive or not. "I could not stand the thought of taking him to euthanize him. I didn't want to kill him," he told 11 Alive. Instead, Marino stayed by Scout's side, going through all his favorite feline activities for one last play. However, it was obvious when the time to say goodbye to Scout finally arrived. One night, he wasn't able to catch his breath, and he just kind of laid down on the floor. Marino says that he'll never forget Scout and what his feline friend did for him. "I'm going to remember him. That's honoring his legacy." Today, the former soldier tells of how Scout saved his life, and then led him to devote it to caring for and helping other war veterans. "He was my buddy and my best friend." Please share this video with your friends below.